Welcome to Chit Chat with David Leonardis. Tonight's show, the cast of You Don't Say, and director Robert Alaniz. A chat with actress Julia Chereson.
We're here in the Chicago suburbs with Julia Chereson, and she is the lead actress in You Don't Say, which is a fantastic new movie by Robert Alaniz.
What are you afraid of? Many of us today in this world of politically correct thinking are afraid to say what we think. Where is Jerry?
He's over there in the parking lot, talking to that man, who is now hitting him in the face. Lovely sermon today.
About Julia's role in You Don't Say.
So tell us about You Don't Say and your role and how that's going, and maybe a little bit about the give and take of working with the actors.
You Don't Say is a fantastic film about a woman trying to climb the corporate ladder, and she's very careful about everything she says. And that's not always beneficial to her, and her boyfriend notices that. So he, as a joke, buys her this necklace to that's supposed to get her speaking her mind. And it's kind of, he's just ribbing her a little. But when she wears it, something changes. And she begins to be a little more outspoken than she was before, sometimes to her detriment. But in the end, she learns about her own voice and the importance of being honest and being honest with yourself and saying what needs to be said. And so it's really exciting, and it was so great working with the cast and crew. They're amazing people, and I've made a ton of new friends, and I definitely plan and hope to do more films in the future.
A chat with actor Gary Gow.
And here we are with Gary Gow. Gary, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you've been an actor for some time, and tell us a little bit about your acting experiences.
I started back in high school on the stage, and my freshman year English teacher actually was the director of the school play, and was looking for somebody to play the part of a small child in the play. And as a freshman, I was barely 5 feet tall with heavy socks. And he looked at me and said, "Kid, I'm going to make you a star." And he asked me if I wanted to be in, and I did. And I was in every play since then. And so I did some community theater after high school. I got involved with a local filmmaker, Robert Alaniz, who directed You Don't Say. But I got involved with him 6 films ago. A movie called Time Server about 10 years ago, and so that put me on the path to film, commercials, and TV, things like that. So it's been fun.
About Gary's role in You Don't Say.
Now tell us about your role in the movie and how that played out. And you were telling me a little bit about it, and you're kind of the older boyfriend, and I find that kind of funny.
Yeah, well, my character's name is Jerry Brownwell, and his girlfriend is a considerably younger lady. There's about a 15-year difference in the script in their ages, and he has a little bit of a problem with that. He knows that her father certainly has a problem with that. But the real relationship is Jerry trying to get her to just speak her mind more. You know, she's in the corporate world, which he used to be, and just got tired of all the garbage, you know, and the lies and the deceit in the corporate world. And he sees that she's kind of caught up in that same thing, where she'll hold back saying one thing, or she'll say something to advance her position in the company. And so he's just trying to get her to open up and be a little bit more honest with herself and with others. And that's kind of where the story picks it up, because he finds this necklace in a store, a fun little store, and it says it's the speaking stone that makes the wearer speak what's in their mind and their heart. And he gets it as a joke, and he gets it to her. And things start happening after that, though. It makes it kind of interesting. So let's just say Bobby finds her voice, and it's a fun way it happens too.
A chat with actress Dani Wilkin.
We're here with Dani Wilkin, and she is a fantastic actress that is in the movie You Don't Say. Dani, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
This man. Bobby.
About Dani's role in You Don't Say.
Let's go into your role in You Don't Say. What is your character, and how does that all play out?
My character's name was Teresa Tempton. She is the office skank. She's a lovely lady. She works with Bobby Evans, who is the lead character, and she has been rumored to be sleeping with the boss, which no one really knows, and that's very fun. She was a very charismatic, voluptuous lady, and she I think she actually liked the rumors that went around about her, but there were a lot of rumors and very fun points where Bobby really gets to fall into her lies and then kind of tell her off when she has the necklace on, which is fun.
A chat with actress Laura Ann Parry.
I'm here with Laura Ann Parry, and she is a wonderful actress in the movie You Don't Say. Laura Ann, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, David. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it is my pleasure. So tell us a little bit about your character, the character's name, and the development that your character goes throughout the movie.
So my character is Madeline Evans, and she is Bobby Evans, our leading lady's mom. And I have taught my daughter Bobby to be politically correct in everything she does, and it kind of leads her down the wrong path sometimes, as we see throughout the movie. But basically my character is mom from the country club, stay at home, married the high school sweetheart, trying to raise two kids the best she can in the suburbs.
Now, is that anything that you draw experience in your own life from?
I'm a mom. That's about it. So it was a bit of a stretch for me because I'm not a stay-at-home mom. Obviously, I'm a working actress, so it was a little bit of a stretch. So the only thing I could draw upon was the fact that I have daughters.
A chat with actor Larry Thomas.
I personally am very, very pleased today to have my fantastic guest, Larry Thomas. He's widely known for his Emmy-nominated role as the Soup Nazi. He is currently starring in You Don't Say, the fantastic movie by Robert Alaniz. Larry Thomas, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that great introduction. That was great.
Well, it's true. And you, Larry, are kind of a member of the popular culture. You are a popular culture icon, and you seem to be very modest and everything. But of course, I have seen you on Seinfeld, and then today I was watching some of the clips and everything. But you're really one of the main standout characters, besides, of course, the main Seinfeld cast. Do you agree with me? Do you feel the same way? How do you feel placing all of this, popular culture status on your shoulders? I mean, how do you deal with it? Do you agree with me? Start with that.
Well, I don't know. It would be impossible for me to be objective about where I stand in Seinfeld lore, because I have my own favorite Seinfeld guest characters and stuff. But as far as how does it feel and what do you do with it? I always say it's like all responsibility. You just pretend not to notice it, so you don't have to be responsible for anything. It's a very big human trait.
Well, you're very, very modest. So who is your favorite Seinfeld character?
If you've ever seen the episode entitled The Briss, It's an actor whose name is Charles Levin. He played Shaky the Moil, and he was the rabbi that had to do the circumcision, and he launched into this brilliant monologue when Elaine put the wine goblet too close to the edge of the table. And to this day, every time I see him do it, I just like marvel, like how well he does that.
Larry Thomas's role in You Don't Say.
Here with Larry Thomas, widely known as the Soup Nazi, but he's here today because he is starring in the new movie You Don't Say by the acclaimed director Robert Alaniz. Larry, thank you again. And what can you tell us about your role in You Don't Say? And we'll go from there.
Well, I kind of am the deus ex machina of the movie. I come in at the end and tie up the storyline, which is always a thing to be in a story.
May I present Mr. Melendez?
I'm in charge of the biggest merger in the history of the company, and I'm shooting off my mouth like an Uzi. We are gathered here today to unite this company, Stutter Communications Incorporated, with Telemex Communications in holy matrimony. There's nothing worse than finding out your partner was sleeping with someone else the whole time you were deciding what goes on the wedding invitations.
And it's a wonderful story. When Robert first brought it to me, I said, I love that theme about people, being able to say what's on their mind and tell the truth, even if it gets them in trouble and it's unpopular. So I told him, I just said, I already love your theme. I looked at the script and I said, it's great. So, but the character, basically, he's just a big CEO from Mexico City, and he just comes in at the end, and the whole story kind of wraps up around him and his scene. And I don't want to say too much about it because that would tell you what it's about. But so he's it's Mr. CEO, and it's a good scene. It's a very funny scene.
That's so funny, and I realized when you're saying that about the whole concept of, there's certain things you're not supposed to say. Well, that was your whole role in Seinfeld as the Soup Nazi. The George comes in and he wants his bread, $3 for the bread, and nobody dares say the wrong thing to you. And then now here you are in a movie where the people, do they say the wrong things to you? Is that giving away too much?
Well, no, that's not really the role of my character, but it's the role of the lead character in the movie. Is she is given the gift of, or maybe it's not a gift, but to just really say what's on her mind, and you have to see where it gets her in trouble and not. But I guess that's why I like that theme. And people ask me about the Soup Nazi, and I always say to them, well, isn't it fun to be a character that can say anything he wants, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he's wrong or mean or whatever. This is how he feels, and he just says it. And he can, because it's his place. So I guess I do like that theme.
You get to say what you want, but you don't like the other people saying what they want. And so, but does the lead character, does she say something to you that is inappropriate?
Not actually, but I don't want to say any, that would be a spoiler, because she does, that my whole role in that scene is to hear her say a lot of things. And I'm just the person that should be here when she spews all this out. And that's kind of how it brings the story to a close.
Larry Thomas's near-death experience.
So Larry, you had this near-death experience, and now here you are having made the most of your life as potentially as a result. Can you please tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I guess it does tie in. It was years ago. I was around 35 years old, and I ended up going into the hospital, and I was internally bleeding, and they couldn't quite figure out why, and it took them a very long time to try to figure out why, but I was bleeding more and more and more, and I had lost so much blood, my body was totally convulsing uncontrollably, and I was freezing, and they couldn't stop the bleeding, and they were putting lots of hydrocollated blankets on me. And I heard the doctors, it gives me a lot of faith in doctors, because I heard the doctors, calling for plasma and trying to get somebody to specialist, like a gastroenterologist in. And at one point, a nurse came in with insurance papers, and I heard the doctor goes, "Get out of here with those insurance papers. I'm trying to save someone's life." So it's a good statement about doctors. But I'm trying to think of the pertinent part of the story is that I came very close to dying, and they left me alone at one point. I remember being fairly convinced I was going to die. I mean, it seemed like that was the only thing that was going to happen, because I was just like convulsing uncontrollably. And, it was just that one moment where, whether you're a religious person or not, you just make your peace, and, you say, well, God, And I remember the two big things that were going on in my life at the time was my wife wanted to have a baby, and I wanted to be a successful actor, which wasn't really happening at the time. And so I just kind of said, like, well, if by some chance I get out of this, I think it's time to have that baby, and I won't quit acting. I promise, I'll just keep going. Just kill me if you want me to stop, and I'll take this as a sign. And I didn't die. A really good gastroenterologist came in, found out what the bleeding was. It happened to have been a colon tumor, but they removed it, and I've been fine ever since. But years later, that same hospital closed down, and that's where they started doing Scrubs. And they were filming Scrubs there, and I was on the set visiting, and I felt kind of invisible, like nobody was noticing me. I'm just walking around going, hi, and nobody's noticing me, and I'm walking around, I go out and I get something to eat, I go hang out with my friend who was working as a site rep there, and I felt like, wow, like, there's not one person on the set who knows me. And, the next day I went into the ER, which was basically just being used as a storage room for equipment. But I went in there and I looked around and I just was going like, why am I here? This is so crazy that I'm here. I'm an actor, I'm here, I'm not acting, but there's a TV show being done here and I'm here. It's like, what? Am I supposed to realize something about my life? Am I supposed to be grateful that I got my life back here, that I didn't lose it here? Is that what it's all about? And I just remember going out after that, and everywhere I went, somebody recognized me. Like the actor Richard Kind was a guest on that episode, and I had walked out where the catering area was, and he was eating, and he looked at me and goes, "Hey, I know you." And I went, "I know you too." And he goes, "Here, come and have lunch with me." And we chatted for a while about people we knew and stuff, and then he went in to go back to work. I stood up, and the director of that week's episode said, "Hey, aren't you Larry Thomas?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, okay, because I was thinking of you for something, And I went, "Well, keep thinking." And then I walked back inside, and I was just going like, what is going on around here? And I was walking down the hallway where the writer's room is. And Bill Lawrence, the creator of the show, opens the door, and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And I went, "Oh, I don't know, just passing through." I thought I was going to get in trouble. And he goes like, "You're Larry Thomas, right? The soup Nazi." And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Come in and meet the writers." So I ducked my head in, and, one of the writers says, "Say the soup thing." And I just go like, "No soup for you." And they all went, "That doesn't bother you?" And I went, "My mother makes me say it. It's, really, it's easy." And so I went, "Well, nice meeting you guys." And then about a week later, we got a call. They wrote a scene for me to be on the show. And I guess that's the whole story in a nutshell. It's like, I don't know, maybe you realize the right thing and everybody sees you there, but if you're missing something, everybody misses you,
Well, if you had quit, then if you'd quit acting, then you wouldn't have been there. And then because you were there, then you end up getting this role. And then, I mean, I'll tip everybody off. I saw the segment on YouTube, and you're there with Tara Reid. If that's wrong, I don't want to be right, Larry. Tell me about that.
Oh, she was a doll. You know, she was an absolute doll. I had known nothing about Tara Reid except for, you know, that she was infamous, you know, as being a young rabble-rouser. And she couldn't have been sweeter. She kept trying to make me eat. You know, she kept going, like, have you gotten one of these sandwiches yet? You know, they're so good. And I'd go like, I have to have my shirt off in this scene. I'm not eating. I'm not eating till we're done. But she kept saying like, oh, get something to eat. And, you know, she was great.
Of course, Tara Reid from American Pie, and she's sort of also very well known for, you know, having a wardrobe malfunction. But in this scene, you're supposed to be naked, but of course you weren't naked.
Yeah. Well, yes, I wasn't. I was, you know, they let me. It was NBC, so we didn't have to go that far. But it was kind of funny. I mean, I just said to the director, he goes, "Do you want to just do it totally naked?" And I said, I've got this young kid having to walk up behind me. Let's not do this to her, okay? You know, but it was fun. It was, you know, I got so many emails from my website and stuff going like, wow, man, you were with Tara Reid. And it's like, in a scene on a TV show, guys, you know.
What's the website?
My website is realsoupnazi.com.
A chat with director Robert Alaniz.
Hello and welcome to Chit Chat with David Leonardis. We're here with the director Robert Alaniz. You Don't Say is his current movie. He has some fantastic movies under his belt, and we'd like to hear more about that. Thank you so much for being here, Robert.
You're welcome.
So, how did you come up with either the script or the entire concept of You Don't Say?
Well, it started on when I first came up with this. I first came up with the idea when I was writing a sequel to my last film, Dinks, and which is Double Income, No Kids. And I was working on this sequel, and as I was writing it, I started coming up with some ideas about people not being able to say what they really think about things or how they really feel. And how, as time has gone by through the years, people now get ridiculed for the things they say. Then there's always these organizations that come after you when you say the wrong thing. You got to be careful about this word, that word, the F word, the D word, the C word, the D word, the N word, and all that. And you know, it got to the point while I was writing the other script that I started, you know, surfing on the internet, and I would find these ridiculous stories about people attacking, you know, these organizations and groups attacking people for innocent comments that they made that really didn't mean anything, but it offended somebody, and so they got all, you know, ticked off about it. And one of my favorite movies of recent was Gran Torino with Clint Eastwood, and I think the reason why that movie was so interesting to me was because he was an old school guy who, you know, words didn't seem to bother him and didn't bother anybody because he came from a time period or a generation when words didn't have any power to them. You know, you could say just about anything you wanted. Even ethnic slurs didn't, you know, they were ethnic slurs. Archie Bunker said them all the time. Sanford and Son said it all the time. I mean, you know, it was just something we didn't get upset about. And I just started seeing how stupid that was and how silly it was. And I started thinking of all these things like, well, what would happen if somebody, you know, got this like magical necklace or something magical like a coin or something, and whenever they had this in their possession, they actually said what they really felt in an environment where you had to be politically correct.
The speaking stone. When present, the stone made those who wore it speak what was in their minds and hearts.
I'm a very hard worker.
That you are.
I'm always on time.
That you are.
Reliable.
You are.
And I am smart.
That's 3 out of 4.
And that's kind of how it started, and I kind of loosely based it on a movie I saw when I was a kid called Zots. And it's a movie from the 60s that starred Tom Poston, the guy who was on the Bob Newhart show. Sure. And this was before the Bob Newhart show, and he actually had a leading role. And it was a kiddie matinee movie that I went to see. And I always went to see, Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger and all of those kiddie matinees on Saturdays. And this movie was called Zots, and it was about a guy who stumbles across this coin that had the word Zots on it, and whenever he said Zots, he would be able to do things. Like he would say Zots, and all of a sudden he could hear the person in the next room talking, crystal clear. So it kind of gave him like these unbelievable powers, and then he had to use these powers for good as the movie goes on. So that kind of started the whole thing. That's what made me go in that direction instead of the sequel to Dinks, which I'm still going to do. But that kind of just intrigued me. The more I thought about it, the more interested I became in it.
So Zots kind of got you interested in the paranormal and that whole concept. Now, do any of your other movies have a paranormal bent to it?
Oh yeah. Well, Barrymore's Dream, a movie I did 2005, was a story about a guy who had astral projection, and he was able to travel through time, space, and dimension whenever he slept. And he would go to different times and everything, and he would see things like in the future or the past. And in this particular story, he continues to see this murder that's taking place, and he can't pinpoint when or who the murder is happening to, or who the murderer is. And but he thinks at one point, he gets a little cocky and thinks that he can actually figure it all out if he just puts his mind to it and puts the pieces together. And so then he starts having these little moments of deja vu, and he reads up on it, and he finds out that these little moments of deja vu are actually periods of time where he had dreamed forward, and he had now lived his life up to that moment, and boom, then it sounded like he remembered it.
About the films of Robert Alaniz.
Real quick, tell me the name of all of your movies.
Time Server, it was my first film. My second was called Barrymore's Dream, no relation to Drew Barrymore. Bitter Blue, and The Vision, and Dinks, Double Income No Kids, which was my first comedy, and Now You Don't Say.
That is so fantastic. Thank you so much for this interview, and we will see you in a minute.